So Godzilla vs Kong has debuted in theaters and on HBO Max. That means it's time to stop and rank all 4 MonsterVerse movies from the worst to the best. Hi, my name is Sean, and I started this channel because I was driving everyone around me crazy talking about movies way too much. If you can relate, you're probably in the right place to consider clicking that subscribe button. With that in mind, go ahead and join me down below in the comment section. Share your ranking of all 4 MonsterVerse movies. My list isn't the right list, it's just my list, and I would love to see yours. One more thing before we get started. As a point of reference, I enjoy all 4 of these movies. In a lot of ways, they have very similar positives and negatives, just in different ratios, and have different things which elevate them and other things which kind of make them more annoying to me. With that said, let's get started. Coming in last place is Godzilla 2014. Now, right out of the gate, this movie sets a really nice vibe in that it's taking this MonsterVerse seriously. Some of the shots are rather gorgeous. The use of colors in certain sequences is very, very cool, especially the one where they're jumping out of the plane into the city towards the end of the film. They recruited a great set of actors for this film, and there actually is a good bit of monster mayhem in the film, though our title character isn't as present or visible as you would want. The problem here is the movie makes 2 really big and very strange mistakes that I think hold it back on this list. The first one is that the first 30 minutes establishes Bryan Cranston's character as having a motivation, connection, and expertise related to Godzilla, and then he's killed off and his son takes over as the lead character, but he doesn't have nearly as clear of a motivation, connection, and expertise related to Godzilla, so he's just not as compelling of a character. He's just kind of along for the ride, and that's a little bit weird. Second big gigantic problem is that pretty clearly they were trying to hold off on showing too much of Godzilla to get to have a nice payoff in the third act of the film. But what that turned into is they kept having Godzilla show up and then it would cut to a news broadcast, or Godzilla would show up and then doors would close.
Not a great plan.
And that's simply not a natural way to end any of these scenes, and it's a forced way to delay revealing to the audience the exact thing they showed up wanting to see. Now, I still enjoy this film. I still have a lot of fun with it, especially as you move into the third act and when Godzilla starts using nuclear breath. It is awesome, but they made some odd choices that are just tough to ignore. In third place, it's Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Now, this movie learned from Godzilla 2014 and puts the monsters much more on display. So there is plenty of monster mayhem in this film. There's plenty of monsters. I mean, you get a bunch of the other creatures from the Godzilla mythology join in on the fight, battling each other, teaming up with Godzilla. There's plenty of destruction, carnage that takes place, and we see a lot more of Godzilla himself. And there's plenty of weird but fun Titan mythology that gives all of this nice backstory. Yes! But there's also no shortage of unbelievably stupid human characters. Of all 4 of these films, this is the one where the human stuff, I think, hurts the movie the most. And I think it's because both humans keep making unbelievably bad choices just so that the plot can continue. But also, the Vera Farmiga plotline gets so unbelievably tone deaf as you move into like the final 15 minutes of the movie, where she starts like bickering with her husband and they try and give her a little bit of a redemptive arc.
Why?
And that's not remotely what the audience wants, because she's responsible for hundreds of thousands of deaths, and the movie doesn't seem to understand she's a villain that needs justice, not redemption. And so while the movie delivers on all the monster mayhem, there's a little bit too much stupid human stuff that actually makes me cringe and roll my eyes a little bit too much. And that's what hurts this one, because the monster stuff I absolutely love here. Our runner-up, Kong Skull Island. Now, I absolutely love the aesthetic of this film. The color scheme, the shots chosen, the soundtrack they chose. It just takes you back in time while still looking like a crisp 21st century film. It's one of the best looking dumb movies of all time. The cast here is, of course, top tier from top to bottom. Everyone is great. Characters are shallow, but they're played by very likable actors who are very overqualified for the parts that they're playing in this particular movie. From beginning to end, it finds opportunities to have lots of monster mayhem, once again building out the history of this island and the mythology of Monarch and everything going along with it. The standout character would probably be John C. Reilly's character, just because he's the one that has the most lively personality and a bit of an arc, because he gets trapped and has to guide them a little bit and then is restored at the end of the movie. And the final boss fight, of course, is awesome, where you have Kong using an anchor and the chain attached to it as brass knuckles. Just amazing stuff. The movie tries to kind of play homage to films like Apocalypse Now and maybe even a little bit of Predator. And when it does that, I think it's biting off a little bit more than it can chew, because it doesn't have the depth to explore the themes that it sets up with Samuel L. Jackson's character. The movie has also a very odd way that it deals with death. They'll give a character a whole subplot that leads nowhere and the character just dies. Characters will give epic monologues and are about to do a big heroic sacrifice,
because that's what heroes do.
and then they're hit by a tail, just kind of die. And other times characters die horrific deaths and it's not really even acknowledged, and it's almost like feels like it's kind of played for laughs. So it's like the movie was trying to make a statement about how war is brutal, but it didn't know how to communicate it in a way that was entirely clear. For me, it absolutely works best as a monster movie with cool aesthetics. When it tries to do some of the other stuff, it's not at its best. But coming in at number 1 is Godzilla Vs Kong, an unashamedly dumb movie that wastes no effort trying to explain why things are happening or trying to put together coherent physics. It puts all of its effort into setting up Titan boss fights. Why worry about logic? Just
Let them fight.
it builds out this perfectly ridiculous mythology about the Titans, their history, the Earth in general, and as goofy as it can get, it is an awful lot of fun. Also, this is Kong's movie. He's sort of the central character that has an arc, something that he wants. He goes on an actual journey to try and achieve something, and it fleshes him out so you can understand him a little bit better. Now, the movie does raise a whole bunch of questions that will drive some audience members crazy, such as, how did they build a gigantic dome around Skull Island without Kong stopping them? Where is the light coming from in the hollow earth? How do they keep tranquilizing Kong, and have they tried these tranquilizers on Godzilla? How did Kong fall, climb, transport 2,000 miles from the Earth's core to Hong Kong in like a minute? Where did Kong watch Lethal Weapon 2 to learn that he needed to smash his shoulder into a building to relocate his dislocated shoulder? But if you're worried about any of those questions, you're watching the wrong movie. This movie promised to deliver Titans punching each other in the face, vomiting nuclear material on each other, and destroying a whole bunch of buildings without worrying about any of the horrific consequences of these actions. And it delivered on all of that. So it comes in at number 1. If you enjoyed this video, you can check out all of my MonsterVerse videos in that playlist right over there. In a few days, I'll be ranking the final battles from each of these movies, so be sure to come back for that. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies too much.